All right, let's make sure we're up here live because you never know how much the social media powers that be, Big Brother, you know what they are, mess with everything. So let me just double check here before we jump on. And I have an amazing guest here today. Yeah, we are on. Excellent. Well, what can I say? This conversation was never supposed to be had a long time ago because I said for months and years that I didn't necessarily care about the flat earth. And the more I said that, the more it started coming into my wheelhouse. So I have an amazing gentleman here that I'm going to announce. David Weiss, sir, can you hear me? How are you?
I was on the get off mode. I'm good. Mute. I'm good. I'm doing great. And I think that's what got me to you. I heard you saying that something about flat earth and that you weren't quite there yet. And I was like, okay, I need to talk to this guy.
Well, yeah, it was because it was not because I didn't necessarily care about it. It was more of a, I'm going, okay, what does this change? Does this change anything? And for a while, I'm like, it doesn't change anything. But then again, after talking or after looking at some videos, and then after talking to you on the phone as of today, and then we made this happen really fast, we changed some schedules up. I'm like, you know what? Actually, not only does this possibly change some stuff, this possibly changes everything. It might be the actual source of not everything, because I'm not saying it's God itself, but I'm just saying this alters everything. And so probably about a couple weeks ago, David, I actually said I'm leaning towards the flat earth, but I wasn't fully in. I will tell you, I don't know.
That's the post I saw. That's the post.
I don't know about you, but I have made some pretty crazy claims, and the flat earth is what's gotten me the most pushback.
Of course. And luckily it's not 2015 when the pushback was insane. Now, more and more people are getting into it. Entire audiences are shifting over. Shawn from SGT, most of his audience now knows that we don't live on a globe. Owen Benjamin, all of his massive audience are now aware. Owen himself, his transition, he did it live on the air. Owen, for those of you that don't know, Owen is he's a famous comedian. He used to be in sitcoms and stuff, but now he does it. He does it all from streaming from his home, just like you are. And it's amazing the amount of people that are waking up. So here's the thing: you said you're leaning towards it. You said, all right, when do you want to do the show? I'm like, tonight, because if we wait any longer, you're going to be like, all right, I'm in 100%. And I'd like to get people before they're in. So, warning to all the people listening, if you listen, if you can put down your ego and use your God-given senses, you are going to at least know you don't live on a spinning ball. And that changes everything. The shape of the planet, the plane, the earth doesn't matter. It's whether it was created or it came from a random explosion of nothing that matters.
Yes. And before we dive in, I actually want to give a special shout out because and this is going to be a conversation, because I will tell you, you're clearly the expert in this world. And I have seen others out there, and I did some diving in today. I've seen people out there who claim they have some stuff, and I know your take on the Flat Earth Society, and I looked at it and it looked like a lot of junk to me as well. You are definitely the source on this, so you're going to take most of this over tonight. I'm just going to ask questions and have some fun.
Awesome.
But the shout out goes to Jason Q on Twitter, because before we jumped on, I was talking to him as well, and he sent me over actual documentation notes from actual NASA. By the way, here's the actual NASA document here with the cover letter, and all the highlights talk about a flat, non-rotating Earth from NASA. This is actual NASA documentation. So I wanted to say that before you dive in. You're muted.
I always do that every show, and it's just my branding.
Okay.
So NASA, the problem is we're taking something from NASA and we don't believe anything NASA says anyway. So now, but we're taking this. It's legit. the FAA, the CIA, the FBI. There's all sorts of documents, but the FAA talks about they treat everything as a flat, non-rotating Earth. We have a whole bunch of videos where people have gone through all the documents pointing out all of that stuff. I'll tell you guys where to find those videos later, but it's all there. They've told us. It used to be in the Encyclopedia Americana, I think it was, which, went out of publishing in 1960. But it's all there. And, we've been trained, it hasn't been 500 years like we're brainwashed to believe because of Aristophanes. It's only been like 100 years. They taught flat Earth in schools in America and across the plain all the way up through the 1920s. Crazy. And they've changed history since then.
So I'm the first question I ask, okay? And I'm going to let you dive into some stuff. I'll ask some questions, but I want you to give a summary of how this started. But my first question is, why would they have done this?
Why the lie?
Why this?
Why the lie about the Earth hiding the form of the Earth? For anybody that knows me, for me to say this is huge. It's so far from who I was 5 years ago. They're hiding God. Okay, they're hiding God. I'm not religious. I'm not anything except I'm looking for reality. They're hiding the fact that we are the center of creation. This world was created for us. We are divine beings with powers that they don't want us to know. They don't want us to know that our thoughts create our reality. They don't want us to know that we are the many, they are the few, that we have the power and nobody can take it from us because we have God-given free will. They're hiding that by making us believe we live on a ball. There's nothing left to explore, just like they told Truman in the Truman Show. Truman, it's all been discovered. There's nowhere to go. And we're running out of resources. Asteroids are going to hit us. Other countries want to kill us. The racial, systemic racial wars. It's all nonsense. None of it is true. And they want to keep us in that low vibrating fear. They want us to believe that we are insignificant, that we came, if you believe in the spinning ball, and I try to keep this as short as I can, you believe that nothing exploded, then it all coalesced to create these planets and giant stars that are burning, and they start orbiting around each other, and lightning strikes and creates an amoeba that creates a fish that grows legs, that finds another fish that have a baby that's a monkey, and the monkey has a baby that's a human. All right. We have to believe all of that. Anyway, and then we have, think about the human eye. How did that develop from random mutations? Look at our hands. I mean, you're a physician. I mean, none of this is by mutations. When you see a mutation, it's a step down, not a step up.
Right.
Okay. And we're taught the opposite. This is the globe Earth is a creation by whoever, many people say the devil himself, Satan, to hide God. That's it. And if you are lost in the universe, you give away your power. The elite, I hate calling that the powers that want to be, they are using it to control us. Think about this. If you were in charge of the world and you could choose what people learn in school, are you going to teach them stuff that might challenge your authority? Or are you going to teach them to be good little worker slaves? The Rockefellers, right, are in charge of those textbooks of the schools. They make them and sell them for 1/10 of what they cost. Therefore, nobody else could actually compete and make a competing textbook and afford to sell it. They make them so they're the only textbooks that the schools can get. And they teach you how to be a good little worker slave.
Well, and I posted before we went on tonight and I posted this many times before, this is not about the money. They print the damn money.
They don't even print the money anymore. They go like this.
I know. This is literally about not only control, but possession of the human mind, the human soul, the energy that is us. Because energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It actually can be more created to create our reality for us. And they are literally trying. That's why school even starts. So the globe starts in school. That's where we all remember it from, right? I mean,
It
It's
starts
indoctrination
before
center.
school, before preschool. You're watching Sesame Street, the Teletubbies. They have astronauts on there. It's all about the globe. Then you go to school. Your teacher to you is a god. And what do they have in the front of the classroom? A Rockefeller-funded globe. Okay, and they teach you about gravity by spinning water around in a bucket, right? Which makes no sense. That's not gravity. You turn the bucket around and spin it and see if the water flies out. That could show gravity, but it doesn't work that way.
Okay, so we're going to dive into some science, and I think you even have some stuff to show us potentially. But this is my next question, because I have been fascinated by the ET UFO phenomena, and there's clearly there's something going on with it. But when you're talking about a flat Earth, how does that play into things? And we may agree or disagree on this. So I'm going to let everyone know full bore ahead that we get along great. We had great conversations today. You don't always have to agree or disagree on stuff to still be going in the right direction. But
I think we're going to agree on this.
So because I truly believe there are ETs, there are UFOs, but where the hell are they coming from then? Okay,
so in the heliocentric model, ETs, an extraterrestrial, we'll get into the etymology of that word in a minute, and a UFO, an unidentified flying object. If I threw a ball over your head and you didn't know it was a ball, it's a UFO to you, okay? So anything in the air that we can't identify is an unidentified flying object. But let's say we think they're spaceships, but we don't know. And, extraterrestrials, terra is territory, extra land. So they could be coming from the extra land across the plane. Behind me, this is one version of the flat Earth model. That white shoreline around the world ocean is the Antarctic shoreline. Some people call it the ice wall. And then it goes out beyond there, and no one's allowed to explore out there. Maybe there's other puddles out there. Maybe there's different rings around us with other worlds. And the extraterrestrials are coming from, rather than, the closest star is 25 trillion miles away. Okay. You can't even fathom what 1 trillion seconds is. Okay. Let alone 25 trillion miles. And they fly all that distance. They come here and they crash in Roswell. Okay. And then they capture the bodies. Or are the other civilizations from the extra terra, are they coming here they can come here for lunch and go back. Okay. With a conventional airplane. Right. The Earth plane is the basement of what we would call the universe. It is the foundation of everything. Everything we see in the sky is within the Earth system. There may be a dome over us. I believe there is, but there's lots of evidence, but we don't know because we can't get up there. We can't get out there. We can get into that in a little bit. Maybe there's civilizations beyond Antarctica. There's swaths of ocean that GPS won't let you go to. If you follow GPS, it'll take you this way over here, and it'll take you this way over here. And this whole swath of ocean is uncharted, and nobody goes there. You can't really go there unless you dead reckon, and you'll be lost. You'll be lost at sea because you have nothing to navigate with in the deep southern oceans. So that's my take on extraterrestrials. They're here on the Earth plane. They're human. They probably even speak English, okay? And they come from the extra terra.
Wow, that's a whole new take on it. It's actually very, very fascinating. So does that mean that there's no actual space outside of us as we know space? Now, keep in mind, we've learned that from NASA. So I'm not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong. I'm just here asking questions.
Yeah, so we believed in the 1960s, we sent guys in a tin can 238,000 miles away. They rode in a dune buggy. They played golf. They had a great time, on untested lunar landers and rockets. And they came back, and we did it how many times? 4 or 5 times, whatever, in just a few years. And it took us 8 years from when we said we were going to go to when we went, right? But now we can't get above low Earth orbit, okay, 50 years later. And it's going to be another 10 years before we can get back to the moon. But we're going to Mars. It's all nonsense. Okay. I don't believe anyone can get over, I don't know, it might be 70 miles up. It appears, about the Go Fast rocket?
I've heard of it. I don't know much about
it. So it's people had an amateur rocket. I don't know, how much it was controlled or not, but they sent this thing up. It went up like this, straight up. Unlike a NASA rocket that goes like this and crashes in the ocean right when it's out of range, okay, in the restricted Bermuda Triangle area or wherever.
Right.
But this thing went right up, spinning, went super high, 73 miles, and it went kerplunk, and it went into another medium. And you could hear it, and it stopped spinning immediately. What is that? I don't know. Is it a thick gaseous layer? Is it a frozen, gas layer? Is it? I'm not sure what it is, but there's some barrier up there. And there's so many things that reference it. There's movies and cartoons that talk about the glass dome. And I'm not a Bible guy. My podcast host, Matt Long from the Flat Earth Podcast, Genesis talks about God separating the waters from the waters. And that would be a dome where we are. And there's waters below us and there's waters above us. You know how science tells us what the earth is made out of. We see that cross section of the earth. You got the crust, you got the magma, you got everything down to the molten iron core, already, or nickel, whatever it is. Okay. It's all nonsense because the deepest hole ever dug is the Great Borehole in Russia. And they used ground penetrating radar and technology to see what they were going to dig into. And they were wrong every step of the way. So with that radar, finally they got down to just short of 8 miles and they hit an impenetrable barrier. Impenetrable. They couldn't drill through it. They couldn't explode it. They tried for years, I think, and could not break this barrier. All right. So that's like going through the skin on an apple and then knowing what the core is. Okay. And they were wrong all the way through the skin. So it's all BS. It's all nonsense that they're teaching us. So on a flat earth and a ball earth, nobody knows what's below 8 miles, period.
Wow. So do me a favor.
Yeah.
Because I could have a million questions and people are going to drop questions in. Do me a favor and take us through, a summary. And I don't care if it's 5 minutes or if it's 20 minutes or whatever it is on what you know, and give them your data on how this is a flat earth, because I definitely want you to get to that information as best as possible. So
there's three baskets things fall in. Works on a globe and flat earth. There's lots of things that work on both. Okay. Like the deepest hole ever dug could work on both. Okay. It doesn't prove anything. Then it works only on a flat earth. And we can get into that, and then works only on a ball earth. What you'll find out is you think you have a basket full of goodies over here on the ball earth, but there's nothing in that basket. In 6 years, I have been able to put 0 in that basket. That's got to tell you something. So if you have a ball, whether it's a basketball or the globe, 24,901 miles around at the equator, it has a rate of curvature, and there's formulas for that. Science tells us that the formula for a ball the size of the earth is 8 inches per mile squared. Okay. And what that means is that if you have to square the miles, because if it's after 1 mile, if it's 8 inches, 2 miles from you, it's curving away more. Okay. So that's more, it's squared. So at 3 miles, a 6 foot tall, the drop is 6 feet. So a 6 foot tall person, looking out on calm water, that's where the horizon would be. And then the water would drop below that as you look out farther. So they shouldn't be able to see anything. Here's a graphic. If a plane is flying, straight and level as it does, it would have to nose down. If it's flying at 500, 550 miles an hour, it would have to nose down a mile every 2 minutes just to follow that curve. Otherwise, inside of an hour, it'd be like 80,000 feet on its way into space. Okay? That one actually changed my viewpoint a little. I saw that earlier today after we talked, and I went, wait a second, that's actually right. Like the plane would actually have to drop the nose down, or it would just be going out into space. Right. And it has a gyro that holds rigidity in space. And that tells you when it's at how it's level, it should send them off into space, but it doesn't. And again, the FAA talks a flat, non-rotating Earth. We're going to get into planes and the rotation of the Earth in a minute, but I'm getting back to the formula. So you should have a physical horizon at 3 miles if you're a 6 foot tall person. And then after that, things should drop off more and more and more. Well, when a boat goes off into the distance, it kind of disappears from the bottom up. But there's a couple things going on here. The bottom side of the bottom part of the boat has the lowest angle to your eyes, and the higher it is gives you a greater angle, and your eyes can only see only have a certain amount of angular resolution. So the bottoms kind of disappear first. Then there's miraging and little waves and stuff which will make the bottom of a boat disappear. We did an experiment on a Home Depot super smooth floor where we put an iPhone camera down, camera lowest to the floor, put a red brick in front of it, filled the whole frame, dragged the brick farther and farther away. It got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until you couldn't see it anymore. You lift the phone up, it changed the angle, its angular view. It could see it, put it down, it disappears. It disappeared because of its angular size and because of the glare on the floor, okay? It miraged it. Stack 3 bricks on top of it, you can see those 3 bricks, but the bottom one's missing. Things disappear from the bottom up due to angular resolution, miraging, atmospheric density, all of those together. That's why the amount of hidden the bottoms of building change, because you have compression, atmospheric compression, you have blocking, you have all sorts of stuff. So that's it. So we can see things entirely too far. There's a new video out by Dr. John D, I think. It's I'll tell you guys where to find it in a little bit. Where we're looking out at wind turbines that were miles offshore, and so they knew exactly how far the first one was, the last one was. The horizon, the water horizon, should have been like 2 miles away, but these things were 12, 15 miles away. And not only could you see them, but you can see the water from miles behind them, and you could see land that should have been miles below the curvature, like over a mile below the curvature. The example they use in the video is the land that they see. You could stack the Empire State Building and the Statue of Liberty on top of it, and the top of that should be a mile below the surface. Okay, but we can see it with our cameras, right? It's not miraging. It's not, we go through it in detail. We can see too far. Earth is flat. There is no curvature.
Okay. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's actually the physics, the science makes sense. It's getting past that little bit of brainwashing, because now you want to see it. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing. We have God-given senses. Many people go, well, I'm not a scientist. I don't have a degree. I'm not. It doesn't matter. You have common sense, but right. They like opposites. They give us nonsense and tell us our common sense is useless. For example, the current world situation we're in, you don't have an immunity system. This face mask is your immunity system.
Right.
Yeah, you must love that. Okay. That's what they're telling everybody, and people are buying it. The reason they're buying it is because their feet are not planted on the ground. They're spinning on a lost speck in space. They're lost, and they have no idea who they are. They have no idea that they have an amazing immune system. They don't need anything else other than, to not live in fear, to eat healthy foods, breathe clean air, not rebreathe crappy air. And, that's what's going on in this world. This deception is hiding God, taking away your common sense, giving away your life.
I'm telling you, man, I've said this before on shows. I don't know if you've ever heard it or not, but when the Vatican falls and that vault is opened,
oh boy,
people are not prepared for the information that's going to be in that, because I guarantee you this is in there, amongst many other things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and again, they always tell us what they're doing. Did you see a couple of years ago, Leonardo DiCaprio met with the Pope?
Right.
And they had like a minute clip, 30 seconds, whatever it was, where he talked about the flat earth, because they always tell us. They always tell us. Obama mentioned flat earth a half a dozen times during his presidency, right? Why is he doing that?
They
Why
have
is
to.
he doing
They
that?
have to say it according to the natural laws.
Yeah.
They just keep it to themselves, and they say it. So they say it in situations where it's almost hidden, so that even though you heard it, you didn't hear it.
Absolutely.
Now, what about seasons?
Yeah, well, seasons are easy. Let me share my screen here.
He has an amazing app, by the way, that I have. It is $2.99. It's worth every little penny, and it's very fascinating. I'm learning how to use it, but I appreciate that app.
The app will. That's what I'm trying to share with you right now. I just lost my. We're on StreamYard. Okay, there it is. So, is that sharing where we're side by?
I will bring it up for you now.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so you can see my mouse, right?
Yep, we're good. It's actually working perfect.
Yeah, so the sun is, I'll turn on the time lapse. The sun is the hour hand in the world clock, okay? Oops. And it goes around. And right now, the sun is almost over the equator. You know why? We're heading towards the equinox, September 21st. It migrates in between these two yellow lines. The inner one is the Tropic of Cancer. It's over the Tropic of Cancer around June 21st, which is the height of summer. And it's over the Tropic of Capricorn on December 21st, the height of our winter, but the outer lands southern summers. The reason it's summer out there is because the sun is over them, right? And it's far away from us. Like, we're here. So when the sun moves away, it's lower in the sky and it rises later and sets earlier. We have shorter days and colder days. Now, we're told that so let me show you the sun. So I'll jump the sun forward to September, October, November, December. So December 11th, the sun is almost out over that tropic. So that's going to be the colder, darker time for us in the inner north and the warmer days in the summer. And then the sun will jump back. If I jump forward 6 months, let's see. So June, that's when then it's our summer because the sun is closer to us. And the tropics are in between the tropics. The sun is always in between the tropics. So the land in between those two yellow lines is always warm. And we call it the tropics because it's in between the innermost path of the sun and the outer. That's the explanation for seasons. The sun is close, right? It's not the tilt. If you think about it, the tilt of the sun, let me, how do I stop sharing? How do I stop sharing?
I can remove it.
Okay. So the sun, we're told that we're on the earth and the sun we're tilted towards it, and that's giving us direct rays. And when we tilt away, that ray is spread out a little more, right?
Right.
And so the sun has less energy. On a ball, the angle where the sun's coming, the tilt of the earth doesn't matter because the ball is rotating. So when the sun appears on the horizon in June, so let's go June 21st, you're at the beach, it's dark. All of a sudden, the sun appears on the horizon. As soon as you can see the sun, you can feel the heat on your face. After a couple minutes, you really start feeling it, right? The sun is beating on your face. Well, that angle is the most severe angle. That's a 90-degree tilt away from the sun. So it's cutting across all that atmosphere, and you're still feeling it, heat on your face, June 21st. Then go wait until December 21st here in the north. Don't even do it at sunrise. Do it at the height of the day when the sun is at its highest point for that day, 40 degrees in the sky, whatever. And look up at the sun at 12 noon. You'll barely feel any heat from it. And that is a much more direct angle. Right. So the tilt of the earth is nonsense. It would be Arctic winter every morning, 365 days a year, if it was the tilt that mattered.
Okay.
Right. All right. Seasons make zero sense on a ball earth. Okay. Because if seasons made sense, equal latitudes in the north to the south, like 60 degrees north, which has buffalo and plants and all sorts of life and stuff, versus 60 degrees in the south, I think it's 60, maybe it's a little farther, has nothing. It has penguins, and that's it. Okay. It would be equal. it's colder in the south. Okay, it's not the same. On a ball, it would be the same because you're tilted. 6 months later you're here. 6 months later you're here.
This makes a lot of sense on why they do the as above, so below duality scale.
Yeah.
Because that's literally what this is kind of pointing out. So from a standpoint of dark and light. Now, the moon. Explain this.
Again, do you have recessed lights in your ceiling where you are right now?
Not in this one, but in my other rooms I do.
Are there any lights on your ceiling?
Yes.
All right, look up at them. Look up at the light. And tell me what shape your floor is. It's stupid, right? It's ridiculous. You don't look up at the ceiling to figure out the shape of the floor. What is the moon? The moon, I'll tell you exactly what the moon is. It's the most mysterious object in the Earth system. I don't know what it is. However, there's been times where, tell me what you think. If you have a sliver moon, inside that crescent, it's been known to see stars through it. Actually, another YouTuber, filmed it in February, and he was following Mars, and you could see Mars inside that crescent. Okay, here's the moon. You got the lit part, which is the crescent. Inside that, he saw Mars. He saw what appears to be Mars. How would you explain that?
I can't explain that because this is the problem here. This is the problem I'm having, and it's not a problem with you. What you're saying is absolutely, it makes total sense. Is I'm having to literally think through this because we were taught a system, and this is the beauty of brainwashing.
Yeah.
Is we are taught a system. So as you say it, I'm having to like reshape my brain to logically pan through this because now I'm going, okay, planets, are the planets in? Or do we even have planets? Are they in the ball or are they outside? Like what?
So, all right. So getting back to the point, some people say that the moon is transparent.
Right.
Some people say that the dark part of the moon disappears. It dissolves during the phases of the moon. It's not there. And that's why when we have no moon, it's called a new moon because there's a new moon coming back. Some people say maybe Mars is in front of the moon. Okay. Now, planet, plane T. Add a T to plane, you get planet. Okay. So they're telling us that we live on a planet, we live on a plane, right? The planets didn't used to be called planets. That's recent. They used to be called wandering stars. Okay. They're all named after gods. They all appear, if you watch Saturn and Jupiter have been in the sky with the moon for the last few days, and you can see them just after the sun sets while the sky is still blue, and you can see there's blue sky beyond the moon, beyond Mars, beyond Saturn. The lights that we see appear to be in the Earth system. Is that light 500 miles across? Is it bigger than the Earth, or is it the size of a watermelon? I don't know. All right. We don't know. We don't know how far it is. We don't know if you changing your position changes the position of the celestial objects. I personally think that the sun and the moon, the real sun and moon, whatever they are above the dome, and they're being projected into our reality like a reflection. And here's the thing. If we had a big mirror on the wall and there was a light on the other side of the room in that wall, going off the mirror, and you're standing out over there and I'm standing over here looking at that mirror, and we point to the light, we're both going to point to a different spot on that mirror. We're going to see it in different spots. If someone went up to the mirror and drew an X right where I could see the light, the X wouldn't be on the light. You would see it somewhere else. So the optics of the sky, there's so many possibilities. Again, I don't know. The whole eclipse thing, the lunar eclipse doesn't make sense that it's the Earth. There's a thing called the Selenian eclipse where the sun and the moon are both above the horizon and the viewer can see them, and the eclipse starts before it goes below the horizon. Makes no sense in the helio-nonsensical model.
Yeah, correct. And as we go on, I want to take a moment to pause, and I want to because I see some of the comments coming in, and I never deal with trolls because whatever. But I
I love the troll comments.
I love the trolls, but I don't deal with it. What I want to reclaim is in the beginning of this show, before we came on with David, Jason Q, who many of you know, and I have to I got to give him credit because he's the one who sent it over to me. He said, tonight when you do your show, I'm listening, but I want to show you something, and I'm going to send it over via email so that anybody who says this is the craziest conversation ever, he actually sent me his highlighted notes and documents from NASA, many of them from NASA, all highlighted, where in their own documentation they talk. Let me use their exact words. This report documents the derivation and definition of a linear aircraft model for a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. That is their words, not mine. Again, Earth fixed axis system, and over they say a flat, non-rotating Earth. So that's NASA documents, and I know we don't necessarily trust NASA, but this is all the stuff behind the scenes they don't tell you about. So NASA goes up in the air, and they show you those pictures like we see behind you. Is this just straight Photoshop? Is this green screen? How does this work?
So this is the Red Bull jump, which, Felix, one of the things he said, he goes, I was up, I saw the curvature of the Earth. Well, look at the Earth. Where is that landmass? Okay, what landmass is that big, right? There is no landmass on the globe that big. But if you look at the rivers and everything, that's New Mexico. Okay. That's a fisheye lens bending New Mexico. That's New Mexico. And so it's a fisheye lens. Neil deGrasse Tyson even came out after we have really exposed this. He said, oh, that's a fisheye lens. You can't see the curvature from 138,000 feet. You can't see it. He goes, that stuff is flat, right? He's mocking us again. But they used this for years because people were brainwashed by this photo right here saying that is the curvature of the Earth, when in fact it's not. At that height, the Earth is flat. This is at 120,000 feet, and the Earth is flat and stationary. Think about Felix. He went up in a balloon. The Earth is rotating at 1,000 miles per hour, okay? And then he landed just within a couple hundred miles of where he took off. He should have been thousands of miles gone. He was up there for 4 hours, okay? The Earth should have rotated out from underneath him, and he should have been out in the middle of the ocean, but he wasn't. It's because the Earth doesn't spin. Think about this. Earth is spinning. The linear speed of the equator is 1,040 miles per hour, according to science, okay? So the angular speed is 360 degrees every 24 hours, but that's over 1,000 miles per hour. If you were a mile from the North Pole, one guy in a mile from the North Pole, one guy on the equator, your linear speed is 360 degrees every 24 hours. But in 24 hours, you're only going to go 3.14 miles because that's pi, a mile from the North Pole. You're only going to make a circle that small. So you're going much slower. You follow?
Yep. So
you're on an airplane. Northern Alaska, you're going, let's just say it's spinning at 200 miles an hour. So you're on the runway, you're not moving. We'll call it you're moving sideways at 200 miles an hour. You take off, you speed up to 500 miles an hour, whatever speed the airplane goes. We'll even add the 200 to the 500, which makes no sense. You're now going 700 miles an hour. You fly to Ecuador, and you want to land on a north-south running runway. That runway is moving to the east at 1,000 miles an hour. Sideways. How is this plane going to land on that runway? It's only going 700 miles an hour if it's even doing that. Okay. It makes landing on a north-south runway would be impossible, right? Try stepping on a treadmill that's going 10 miles an hour. Okay. From you can't do it. And this thing's going sideways. Does that make any sense?
No, what you just said actually makes sense. The problem is you got to slow down your mind, and I'm going to go back to this a lot. And I'm going to let everyone make their own decisions on this. I'm not trying to tell everyone it's a flat Earth or it's a globe. I'm simply getting information. But what you run into is you actually run into what's called a mental barrier where they've actually programmed in information to your brain. So when we start thinking about this, and he tells me something like, hey, if the thing is spinning and you're trying to land an airplane north to south, you're going to have a hell of a time trying to do that. And that actually is logical and makes sense. So you take logic and common sense, which we're supposed to use, and you run it up against their mental, whatever implant thing you want to talk about, brainwashing. And this is where we get so stuck, because we're like, no, that can't be true because that's not what I learned. And the real reward is on the other side when you go, oh my gosh, I can now tie it all together.
Right. So here's a little thought experiment. I'm going to explain it. I've never explained it this way. It just came into my head. You got a bowl of water, and you put a you have a what are those circular lollipops? A Charms lollipop.
Yeah.
Okay, it's pretty smooth. It's got little ripples on it. You stick it in the water and you start spinning it. Is all that water going to spin around with it? Of course not. It's just going to slip right through it. So now we'll put it into a milkshake. It's a little thicker, and you spin it. Some of it'll start turning with it, but it'll lag behind, right? So now let's think about the Earth. The Earth is spinning. It's got an atmosphere which is thinner than water, and it's spinning, and all of that air has to spin with the Earth at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator just to keep up with the Earth, okay? At a higher altitude, it's got a bigger circle to make, so it actually has to go faster than 1,000 miles an hour just to keep up with the ground speed, okay? The globe thinking will say, well, gravity is holding it all down. It's just holding all of the air. Gravity, it grabs onto the air in columns and it holds it. But a summer breeze can blow left and right and up and down and doesn't worry about gravity. But here's the thing. If the Earth is spinning and everything's spinning with it, what would happen to that? Let's say that air was spinning with it. Do you think that it would start to lag behind, kind of like, you know, if you're stirring something in a pot, it would lag behind, right? The Earth would spin away and the top stuff would start curling back, like when you look in a blender, right?
Right.
Okay. That's not what happens. Can you share my my app again? You still have it there.
There you go.
These are the upper level winds. There's 40,000 feet. That red area there, the red and white. This is 200 to 300 mile an hour winds. Okay, that are very consistent. They change a little bit. But these winds are going eastward, east. Now, east is a circle around the flat Earth, and it's a circle around the ball Earth too. But it's outrunning the Earth. It's outrunning the Earth. If you just stop and think about that, the Earth is spinning, and the winds are outrunning it by 200 or 300 miles an hour. So at the equator, 1,000 miles an hour. These are going 12 to 1,300 miles an hour is relative to a point in space, or 200 to 300 miles an hour faster than the Earth is spinning. That's impossible.
Now, though, that big white circular stream with the red lines around it.
Yep.
Now, is that the stuff that is the closest to Antarctica, and that's why there's so much bad weather out there?
This is at 40,000 feet, and I don't know how bad the weather is in Antarctica. You know, we are, you can close that screen, put that back down for a minute. You know, we when we're in school, we were all shown, tell me if you were shown this, the National Geographic explorers that went to the North Pole. They went with their dogs, they're running out of food, the dogs are freezing to death, the guy's fingers are falling off. And then finally, after this excruciating, you know, like they're all gonna die. And then they're like, all right, we're at 5 feet, 10, we're there, we're at the North Pole, and it's dark and it's blowing 100 miles an hour and it's 100 degrees below zero, and then they're in their tents and they're freezing to death, right? We all saw that. Right. And what does that make a kid say? What does it make a kid never say? I want to go to the North Pole. No kid ever says that. And they did the same thing in Antarctica, where it's horrible. I don't believe any of that's true. I believe that the answer to what's really going on in this world relies in the North and in the South. There's many flat earthers that want to explore the North if they had the choice. I'd like to explore the South. The South seems more expansive to me. The center is maybe closer to God. I don't know. But I want to see if there's a dome. I'd like to go out that way.
You want to see?
I want to see if there's a dome.
You want to go to the edge.
Yeah.
That would mean Now, did Admiral Byrd not go out over the edge and possibly see some things on the other side of the wall that he wasn't supposed to see?
Maybe, is Admiral Byrd part of the deception, part of the revelation of method? Was he, were they just figuring it out? I believe that the people that are controlling the world right now aren't the real controllers. They're the puppets of the controllers. Okay. Right. So, there's people that know what's going on in this world. I believe that there is a reset that happens about every 150, 200 years that happens in this world. And we might be upon that reset now. Seems like the elite are telling us in every newscast, every show, they're all talking about the Great Reset. I don't know if you
let me dive down that road, because I'll have to have you back because there's so much information to go through. And when I'm done tonight, I'm sure I'll find more things to ask questions on. But I want to dive into that because you made an interesting comment about the elite are not controlling this world, and I truly believe that as well. There's something above them. You can tell us what you think is above them, and I'll tell you if that's kind of what I've studied as well. But also, we're talking about this great storm that's coming, this possible storm. That's the Q thing. Trump has even talked about it when he brought the military in. Space Force is here, all this different stuff. What do you think this is? What do you think is coming? Because we've heard the Great Reset. We've heard all this stuff. Is there something that's coming from outside that wall or underneath the ground, whatever it may be? What's your take on that?
Have you looked into Tartaria and the mud floods at all?
Vaguely, but I haven't dove down any of those rabbit holes. So.
There's some great information. There's so many buried cities in this world.
Right.
Some people believe there was a worldwide mud flood. There's definitely evidence of massive regions being buried in mud. To me, I think there was a reset happened in the late 1800s with a mud flood. If you ask a Christian, they say, well, God, had destroyed the earth with mud or water, and next time it's going to be fire. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of fire going on right now. It's looking a little biblical to me. I don't know, but I think that there's a reset coming and there's going to be a mass change in population. It's a whole nother rabbit hole. I don't know if you ever looked at the Deagle report, which talks about the gross national product and populations of countries. And they have the population of the USA in the year 2025 at 100 million.
Oh,
ouch.
Well, I actually stumbled across a video and I had to step back from it because it doesn't take you down a bright, shiny road. But basically, the whole Planet X Nibiru, whether that's true or not. But what came with that wasn't wasn't so much about the planet that I was curious about. Was the same thing is they're talking about essentially another great flood that takes out a lot of land mass.
It could. And if you think about it, the Great Flood doesn't make any sense on a ball. It makes sense on a flat Earth,
right? With
Antarctica being the highest land on Earth and waters above that can come streaming in. The whole weather system. You know how we get so much water out of a hurricane, but we could fly through a cloud and the windows don't even get wet. What's going on there? Is the water coming from above? Does low pressure let the water in when you have a low pressure system, and a really low pressure system lets a lot of water in? That makes sense to me. So a great flood could happen. Global warming, nonsense. Water's rising. They've been telling me my whole life the water's rising. I've lived in the same town my whole life, and I'm a water guy. I'm in the water a lot. The rock walls and the fence posts they've always been where they've always been in relation to the water. It hasn't risen. It hasn't sank. Yes, there's tides. There's nothing has changed an inch in over 50 years. So, that whole water level coming up is baloney. Now, could land be sinking? Possibly. Venice appears to be sinking. But who knows what's going on there?
Well, and according to the flat Earth theory, from the pictures that I've looked at, there are, even if you take into consideration the Arctic wall, but then there's even like one or two walls potentially after that, because there's other land masses out there, and Atlantis being all the way on the outer edge, there's holes or openings in those walls in places where water could easily come in.
Yeah, well, that I believe that if there is connections, that's all level already. I believe that there's water above us. So we don't know, they don't teach us about primary water. Do you know about primary water?
No, take me down that road.
Yeah, so primary water is the water that's deep below the land. That's why in California, you're not allowed to dig a well deeper than 300 feet. You know why? Because you'll hit primary water. Muammar Gaddafi was looking for oil, and he discovered an ocean of water underneath the desert, an ocean of pristine water. So you don't know about the Great Man-Made River, I would guess.
Oh no, this is something new for me. I got to look this up while you're talking about it.
It's very hard to find information on it, but I have a great video on it. It's called The Great Man-Made River by Muammar Gaddafi, and he did the largest aquifer project in the history of the world. It took him 40 years. He was pumping water all across Africa. Any family that wanted to have a farm, he gave them water, land, tractors, seeds, livestock, and let them start organic farms. Organic farms were popping up all over the deserts, all over Africa. He was going to feed all of Africa. And when he was done with it, when it was almost complete, the USA bombed it and blew it up with depleted uranium bombs.
Okay. I had never heard that. I knew that he was taken out by the cabal, but now that actually brings up an interesting point, because we talk about, and the Q world out there is talking about dark to light, but it also talks about taking out the cabal, taking out the deep state, which it seems to be Trump, and I'm more supportive of that side than the other side, obviously, but it seems to be we're talking about possibly doing something very similar, going back to the gold standard. But Gaddafi, even though I'm not saying he was a perfect person, I have said before in my shows that what he was doing was they were printing their own money on essentially trying to go to a gold-backed currency. They were giving money to their citizens for everything from having a house to, if you got married, you got money. If you had children, like, it was considered a blessing from God, and that's where that water probably comes in, which I had not read about.
So the Gaddafi, education was free, higher education was free, medical was free. If you needed an operation, they couldn't do it there. He'd send you to another country to get it done. All of that's covered. When you get married, you get $50,000 towards a house. He housed all of the homeless. He raised the education levels. Electricity was like 14 cents. Or gas was like 14 cents. Maybe electricity was free. I forget what it was. He would pay half of whatever car you wanted to buy. He walked the streets and people hugged him. And we were told they were hugging him so he wouldn't slit their throats. Okay. That's all nonsense. Obama, at that time, when I was studying Gaddafi, was driving down the 95 corridor through my town, and they block off all of the exits, and they have 15 dummy cars going through so he doesn't get taken out. Gaddafi walks down the street through his people, hugging them. So we're told that he's this horrible bad man, because he looks scary, and he was angry because he was angry. By the way, Gaddafi did a speech talking about exactly what's going on right now, how they're going to use a virus to take over the world and the vaccines. And he made this incredible speech at the UN, super hard to find right now, but it's out there.
Wow. That's, that's what's funny about this? As you're saying that, I'm looking at comments here, and let me tell you, how I know you're probably on the right track is because I've been doing this show for a long time, 6 nights a week, and even I've been doing it long term for like 3 years. And I've had haters here and there. I have had trolls. I have never had as many trolls and haters as we have tonight over something that shouldn't be a controversial subject. Like, I do vaccines all the time because I'm a natural physician and I know what they really do. And we're getting more hate over the flat earth, which technically shouldn't be that controversial of a subject, but people despise it, man.
Yeah. It's because it's changing the foundation of your world. Like, if I told you that your parents were serial killers, you wouldn't even want to hear the evidence. You wouldn't want to look at it. Okay. Because it would destroy your worldview. And when you find out that the government is not your friend. And everything that you believed from a child is the foundation of your world belief is a lie. Some people can't emotionally handle that. Their pineal glands are calcified. They're vaccinated. They're unable to think. They're living in fear. They're living paycheck to paycheck or worse. Okay. And they can't deal with something like that. That's why 99% of them are there. Then there's other elite people that are in here trying to mix it up, trying to get people to not look at flat earth. That's why the Flat Earth Society exists. Because if you search flat earth, it's like, wait a minute, Dave was pretty interesting. Let me Google that. Google's going to take you to Flat Earth Society. Spend 10 minutes in there. You'll never look at flat earth again. Okay. You'll never look at it again because it's ridiculous. That's straw man nonsense land over there.
They're calling you a Freemason, man.
You know what? I don't even know what a Freemason really is. Okay. You know, I don't know where a single lodge is and whatever. Freemason, whatever.
Wow, man.
I take that as a compliment, I think.
Dropping some bombs. So let's do this because I have to do a whole other show after this tonight. We're going to have you back on. Who has some questions? And what I'll do is I'll drop some questions on you. We'll do some kind of rapid fire answers. And obviously, I'll have you back on to talk about this because I've only been studying it recently. I have a lot more research that I have to do on it, obviously.
Pull up my app again. Let me just show you a couple things I want people to see before the next show. There's so much, you know, again, as 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 something, you go, oh, I believe him. Or you could tell somebody something, oh, he's a doctor, I believe him. And that's it, you're done. You can go take a nap, go drink, go watch a movie. It doesn't matter. But if you want to know, it takes time and effort. You want to believe in the ball? It's easy. Just believe in the ball. If you want to know what the true earth is, you got to take the time and effort. I've been studying this for 6 years, every single day, every single night. And it's fascinating. It's wonderful. But here's the thing. Take the Flat Earth app challenge. Get the app. It's $2.99. Okay. There's a little pop-up that says, would you like to subscribe for 99 cents? You don't have to subscribe. Exit out. It goes away immediately. It only shows up once every 24 hours, no matter how many times you use the app, and you still get everything. So don't worry about that. Only subscribe if you're like, Dave's awesome. I love this app, and I want to make sure he has funding to keep it going and adding improvements. And by the way, anybody that has the app and has an Android, do your update now, and there's now a widget, so everybody can stop complaining. There's a widget. But in the app, we have the web button, shows, excuse me, a bunch of other Flat Earth friendly shows. It has different languages for anybody that's listening that speaks a different language. It has the frequently asked questions, like, where's the edge? What about the southern flights? Why the lie? If you click any one of them, it takes you to a playlist. Drop down a little playlist. These are all videos about why the lie. Lots of effort, lots of work has been done on these videos. And there's years worth of information in here. Everything you could ask me is answered inside the app. And the other thing is, see my cool t-shirt? If you go into settings, scroll down, we have a t-shirt shop, which has all my cool t-shirts. If you want to buy some t-shirts and be a little walking Flat Earth billboard, or there's some COVID stuff in there too that you might like. And that's it. Also has, it has your weather on there. There's tons of features on here, but the daily video, you can see that you and I are here on the daily video. That'll be up running. I'll probably run till tomorrow or sometime. So
beautiful.
And that changes every day or almost every day.
So let me ask you a question here. A couple questions, and then I have my final question. So somebody said, explain the Aurora Borealis.
You explain the Aurora Borealis.
Don't you love how you do all this research, and then I get the same thing where they're like, you tell me how this is, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why don't you go find it? I don't necessarily know that exact answer.
So the Aurora Borealis is some sort of electromagnetic waves that are coming out of the North Pole, works on a flat Earth, works on a ball Earth, mixing with the ether and exciting particles, works on a ball Earth, works on a flat Earth. What's making those winds outrun, or circle at 200 or 300 miles an hour over a flat Earth, or outrun the spin of the Earth? something, there's energy. The Earth is, Tesla proved the Earth is full of free energy. He lit up the world's fairs, and then JP Morgan shut it down and said, no, we need to charge people and make them believe they're burning dinosaur juice. It's all insanity what people believe. If people knew what they believed, they wouldn't believe what they believe. Like, you're doing a 9/11 show tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay. Here's something that people don't believe, that people that believe in 9/11. And you know what? I don't even know how the people can still believe in 9/11. It just makes no sense to me. The plane that crashed in Shanksville hit the ground so hard that the ground liquefied, swallowed the plane so deep, and then re-solidified that they can't dig it out. It's too deep. That's the official story. The official story on all building 1, 2, and building 7 is that they fell at free fall speed because of a fire, right? Makes no sense. People don't even know about building 6. Building 6, the entire 10 stories, the entire inside of the building disappeared down to the basement.
Yep.
Okay. And the one thing I told you before, and I want to bring in about the Chopper 5 pilot, the guy that filmed the second plane from the Chopper 5 pilot that zoomed in on the towers, and then all of a sudden the plane showed up. He's the guy that wrote the software and teaches the course on how to insert CGI aircraft into a live broadcast. Okay? You can't make this up. That's all you need. 9/11's over. Sorry for the transition, but I'm looking forward to your show tomorrow night, right?
It is tomorrow night. Yes, that'll be my show tomorrow night. So here, let me get into one last question, and then I'll have more questions for the next time. On the app, when explaining the seasons, the long day of the summer doesn't coincide with the amount of light being shown to hit the northern portion. Can you explain that?
It actually does. So okay. Again, the app, I have a big twilight area. It only the day and night only change. Can you pull up the app? Yep. It only changes once a month. Okay, because it's minute changes during the month. I might make it a weekly thing, but right now, as we're getting close to the summer, the equinox, day and night are split in half, just like they should be. As it moves out, the outer areas will get longer days because the light wraps around the dome. Okay, and we can show you how it works on a dome. I have videos where we show that we can recreate the same light patterns inside a glass dome. All right, so as the sun goes out there, this light goes all the way, wraps here. And when it's way out here, there's even a little light that wraps all the way around the outside, while this area in here is dark. And then that darkness goes all the way up to Alaska, and Alaska stays in the darkness. So there's a couple weeks there where it's not exact. It's not exact. It's just showing you generally how the light and dark work. So it does match what time and day show, and time and day you can convert to a flat Earth map or a regular ball map, and it's all the same. Works on both.
Beautifully stated, sir. Beautifully stated. This is my last question. And anybody else who has questions, he'll be back. You can send me the questions. We'll ask him when he comes back, because he's too good at that back, and I'm sure I'm going to have more questions that pop into my mind. So I always like to end as positive as possible, because I'm a believer in a creator. I'm a believer in a God who, like, we're put here, whether we're put here by some crazy Anunnaki but I believe either way, there's a source that put us here. I know there's something coming. There's a storm. That's what Q talks about. Not that we don't worship Q here. We don't worship the president here, but we're kind of going down that road, because really it's the only road I think right now that's positive. And I hope we have some extraterrestrial help in getting rid of the cabal, whatever needs to happen. But either way, going forward with what you know in your studies and the possibilities of waters, the possibilities of earthquakes, storm, whatever it is, what do you see occurring over the next 3 months to year in our future going forward as humanity? Because something's got to change, man. We're done with this old paradigm.
And you don't want to end on a negative note.
Yeah, well, give me what you think, but then give me a good positive, like, hey,
right,
like, there is a God.
Okay, so if things keep going like they're going, from what I'm seeing here, there's going to be massive upheaval come the election, no matter what the outcome. There's three horrible outcomes. One is that Trump wins. The other is that Biden wins. And the other is that they fight over who won. Okay, they're all horrible outcomes as far as the way that people will react. Now, spinning that to something good, perhaps between now and then, enough people will wake up to this deception, stop giving their energy away. And because all of this mayhem, they want us in the streets rioting. They want us to believe there's systemic racial, what's the word? Racialness?
They want us
racism,
fighting.
Systemic racism.
Right.
They want us fighting. They want us going insane. They want us, defund the police and, go crazy. If enough people wake up, and again, all of the people in the flat earth community are not part of the problem. They're awake. They're aware. They've taken their power back. They've stopped participating. The thing that people say is, oh man, you've answered all these questions, but what can I do? I still have to go to work, and I'm only one person. They're too powerful. That's the psyop. The psyop. They want you to believe that you have no power, and you have all the power. And all you have to do is say, I do not consent, and not feed into them. FDR said the only thing to fear is fear itself. That is the truest statement that I've ever heard. Okay. Fear is the only thing that will depower you. And then not using your common sense and believing their nonsense and giving away your power. You can't do that. Okay. My life has changed incredibly since I've discovered that we are the center of creation and that we have the power. All of the things, everything that we believed is not true. All of the stuff, they're too powerful. That's not true. I can't do anything about it. That's not true. I have to go to work tomorrow, no matter what. That's not true. Okay. There's so many different things, what is your goal? That's a whole nother show. As long as if people wake up, all of this can change. All of it. We are in charge for our future. Therefore, they are making us think all of these horrible things to create the future that they want. They want the chaos. Okay? They want the chaos.
Do you see it? Do you see a bright and beautiful future for us?
I sometimes wonder if this entire thing is an intelligence test, and they've told us about they've disclosed everything. The CDC, revised their numbers from 200 from whatever the number down to 9,000. Right? They tell us everything. We know. There's no way in the world you and your family would take the vaccine. Is that correct, or am I?
I'm about as anti-vaccine as it gets, my man.
Okay. Wait, say that again.
I'm about as anti-vaccine as you can get. I'm a holistic doctor. So,
all right. So when the vaccine comes out, nobody can say you didn't tell me what was in it. You didn't tell me the dangers. You didn't tell me. I think that the vaccine at best will sterilize everybody. It will disconnect you from spirit, from being able to process spiritually, and at worst, it'll kill you. So anybody, and by the way, there's no such thing as a forced vaccine. They can coerce you to hold your arm out, and if you hold your arm out, that's not a forced vaccine. You have given in.
Right.
Okay. So perhaps I'm right about the vaccine, and anyone that gets it fails the test. There's your depopulation. Who knows?
I actually agree with you. I think that's actually, because I used to worry. I made some phone calls a while ago, and I used to worry about, oh my gosh, am I gonna make the right choice? Am I gonna make the right choice? And someone said to me, you do realize that the way you think, as well as your family, as well as your colleagues, as well as you yourself, obviously, the way you think, you are the top. And all the people watching this tonight, whether you're a hater or you're a person who's been viewing this from day one, or you're with David's show, is if you even think this way, close to this way, you're in the top 1% of the top 1% of the top 1% thinkers, meaning you're wide awake because you're even willing to look down these roads and channels. If you've been on the flat road, you know, the flat earth road, you've been down other roads well, down the rabbit hole. And so if you're thinking this way, you've already woken up and you're among the ones who will most likely survive all this because you believe in freedom and liberty. And so that's kind of my thinking.
How about this? There's just a thought. Perhaps the elite are trying to preserve the human race, and there is a reset coming, and they want the smartest people to make it through. So maybe they're sorting us out. Who knows?
And I want nobody passing away because I love humanity, but I will tell you, that's how they think. I know that for sure.
So yeah, who knows? Again, don't be afraid. We're here. We're spiritual beings. This isn't the end.
Correct.
And you know, we all want to make it through or whatever. I'm not even counting on anything like that happening. It's just do your best, be a good person, don't waste your life, you know, and realize your own power. Take your power back and use it. Use it for good.
Said. Dude, I love it. And by the way, obviously David will be back, but I appreciate you, sir, for not only being like a realist. I appreciate you being a thinker that thinks of like new ideas, even in your own world that you're working in. But I appreciate you. You've bet everything on this. I mean, this is your full-time job every single day. This is what you do. And that is not an easy choice in this crazy world we call, you know, Earth.
Right. Some people, you know, the trolls will say that I'm in it just for the money. I left a very high-paying, fun job for this, okay, which is a very low-paying, super fun job. Yes. Super fun. I'm having the time. This is great. And, you know, it's because I don't care about the trolls. The trolls actually, some of my best videos are made because of the trolls. So I appreciate the trolls for inspiring me to crush their helio nonsense. My YouTube channel is DITRH. Everyone check it out. I have short videos on there. You know, if I make like a 7-minute video, the comments I get are, oh, a documentary, you know. So my videos are short to help people get into stuff. If you go to my channel, DITRH short list, you hit the top button and they'll all just play in a row. The Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. If you just search Google Play Store or the Apple Store for Flat Earth Clock, it comes up. It's by 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. There's a couple of crappy knockoffs by some globe trolls on the Android store. Just Flat Earth Clock by 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, $2.99. Take the Flat Earth app challenge. If you have it, gift it to somebody. Just send it to someone. You could share it in the settings. And it wakes up so many people. I've gotten thousands of emails of people saying, I got your app. I got it as a goof. Somebody sent it to me. And, oh, my God, you ruined my life. I don't have any friends. You know, the earth is well, but by the way, you'll make new and better friends. You know, if you have a friend that just can't deal with it, it might be time to move on. You know, let them find their space. They'll be back.
100% agreed, man. I appreciate having you on tonight. You're awesome. I'll have you back because my mind will be buzzing and I will have many more questions, especially after reading some of this NASA material I got. But thank you again for being on, man. You are a warrior. You're a patriot. Thank you for serving humanity.
Thanks. No problem. I'm looking forward to coming back. See you around, buddy.
I appreciate it, man. Have a wonderful night. And by the way, guys, this is Revolution Network for Wednesday night, but I will be on in just a few minutes over on my group page at Noble Patriot Group. So get on there. I promised I would come and talk to you guys about Lyme disease, parasites, some healthcare questions, and I'm sure I'll have some questions tonight about David. So I will be on there tonight after this, even though it's late. We will go on there. I will fulfill that commitment. And we'll knock that out. So, guys, Revolution Network, Dr. Jason Dean for David Weiss, deep inside the rabbit hole of Flat Earth. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. Be well.